I mean,
there's a stitch up.
Well, it's tough because I feel like everyone's got an agenda. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think anyone's really coming at this like I want a holistic approach, pyramid, top to bottom, everything covered?
Do we want to do an intro?
It'd be good, like, to have a thing where every episode's
oh no,
like
sound's not working again.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like 6 clips of two dads. You know what I mean? Like speed it up kind of thing, and from all the different sets and episodes.
Yeah, see, this is good because then we can, like, I think for future ones, maybe we just have an iPad that we're holding.
Yeah.
And we can kind of fire through them like that. So I think at the start here, I'll introduce it and then address that we're going to try this new format.
Rolling?
Crack on. Get your burp out.
Yep.
All right. You good, Ez?
Yep.
Welcome, our friends. We are trying a new format this week. 2DadsUnited is back. Steve Nash, Stu Holden. This is not a completely live version because we're taking some of the questions that you have thrown at us this last week and over the weekend. We've picked the best ones out. We're going to discuss these topics and we're going to put it out. We're going to try and do this every Friday to take your questions, then answer it on a Monday and give you what you're asking for. And then we are going to do once a month a live version that is only asking and answering questions that have come from you via our social channels on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and Instagram. So as always, make sure you subscribe at 2DadsUnited. Our numbers are growing slowly, gradually. And actually, did I tell you I was in Philly this last weekend for United Soccer Coaches Convention, and I had probably 10 to 15 people coming up to me throughout the conference saying that they watch 2DadsUnited and they're big fans.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I think it's been experimental the whole way, and so we're kind of experimenting on something else now, but I think we're getting there and finding a little bit of a comfort zone.
And the other one is, did you see the guy that was at Playa Premier League the other day? He was on the bike.
Yeah.
He was cruising around with his kid on the front, and I saw him because the ball had just gone out of bounds past him, and he stopped, and he was like, Steve. He's like, I watch you guys on 2DadsUnited. And I was like, you're winding me up. Like, somebody must have paid you to come over and say that.
Yeah. No, it's good. We've gotten a lot of good feedback. So I think for us, it's about just figuring out what you guys want and what we can offer and how we can have some fun with it.
We are going to start with our first question this week, and it is from a new dad-to-be, and he asked for his name not to be revealed because he said that he has not told his parents yet that they are pregnant. So this must be a very fresh dad. And he said, #1 advice for a dad this year. So he's dad-to-be this year. You are a dad of a 6-month-old son. I am the dad of a about-to-be 2-year-old. If you can go right back to that fresh stage where he is right now, what would your advice be?
I would say
sleep now.
Sleep now. I would say err on the side of being like the best partner to your wife you could possibly be. You know, they're going to go through it, and they're going to potentially be really emotional, and they're going to go through a lot of changes, and I think it'll save you a lot of stress and heartache if you put her first a lot of times and make sure you don't, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no. Hey,
first sometimes.
I don't know if you and I have talked about this, but Duck, one of your best friends, he pulled me aside during your bachelor party up in Vancouver, and we were talking. I don't think Kennedy was born yet, or either she was or she was really young. And he was just talking to me about, you know, how great it is to be a dad and this and that. And he said, he offered unsolicited advice, first of all. Thanks, Duck. He said, my best piece of advice I can give you is to follow your partner's lead and be the best husband and the best partner that you can be through that. And if you have a partner like my wife who knows everything, reads everything, is so invested in the process and just trusting what they do and complimenting that in a great way. And it was a really good piece of advice, no matter the fact that we'd had about 15 beers at that point. And the fact that I still remember this, but I really, when he said that to me, it resonated with me what he meant. Because I'm a very involved dad. I love to, you know, do everything I can to be a good dad and a good role model for my daughter. But, you know, knowing when to be there and to take the load off Kara a little bit, because it is very taxing on the moms early on, isn't it?
It is.
More than I ever imagined.
I can't believe the bachelor party was
that long ago.
It was longer than Kara's life right now.
Yeah, when was that?
She's such a big part of everyone's life in a way. It's like weird that, it's been 2.5 years. Well, 2.5 years? Year and a half.
So Kenna must have been really young.
Yeah. But anyway,
it's all blurred. There's another sign of being a dad. It's all just blurred together.
The other thing I would say like that is that what I recognize with all my kids, but I try to tell young parents is like when you have a newborn, every 2 months you'll forget what they were like 2 months ago. Like they're changing so fast. So take a lot of pictures, take a lot of video, and especially until they're like, 8, 9, 10, 11, they're changing so fast and developing and doing different things all the time that it's bizarre to look back and be like, I don't even remember them looking like that.
I'm curious of your perspective because you've had essentially 2 looks at that, right? Mm-hmm. Because you have Lola Bella and Matteo who are an age gap between then and Luca, and you were playing professionally during their lives and when they were very young. And, the adage of it goes fast, so don't blink and enjoy kind of every moment. Do you have a new perspective on being a dad the 4th time around?
Yeah.
Other than the obvious, but just the circumstantial difference.
It's different when you're gone half the time, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been a lot of. I love kids. I could keep going
for hours. Yeah. Hey, this is 2DadsUnited. We're allowed to talk about kids.
keep having them. I feel, the planet's probably not going to look favorably on me, but I love kids.
Great. All right, let's dive into that's some good advice for you there. So I hope you listened to all that and took it all on board. Our second question is going to be, Stu and Steve, how difficult was it for you and your families moving to new cities and countries over your careers? What kind of decisions did you and your families have to make before these moves? Or what kind of decisions did you have to make individually going into these? And this is coming from Totally Maloney on Instagram. So thanks for your question.
TM. For me, you dream of playing the game you love your whole life. When you get a chance to play professionally, you're at the whim of the market and where your career leads you. So that going in, and you're so lucky to be able to do this for a living that you accept a lot of these things as absolutely a non-issue in a way. Obviously, it can be inconvenient at times, but reality is it's an unbelievable living, and that's part of it, as is the media and fans and the pressure and all those different things. So it's just one of those things that I don't think you think too much about because you're so grateful that you have the opportunity to do this for a living.
I just want to be clear on the difference between NBA and MLS, for example, as opposed to English Premier League. The free agency market, do you have any say in where you're traded and when and how?
You do when you're a free agent.
When you're a free agent?
When you're a free agent, you have a lot more, obviously, you can sign with whoever you want as long as they want you.
Yeah, but if you have a 3-year contract with the Phoenix Suns and they want to ship you to Dallas and and they get the deal, you're gone. You can't hold out or...
You can have a no trade clause, which is very rare, but some people do. If you say you don't want to go, you can be in breach of contract, right? There's obviously strategies where you can kind of stop a trade by saying like, well, if you're in a situation where you're a free agent in the summer and the team's like, you're like, oh, I'm not re-signing with you, and that might
factor into their decision.
But typically, the player has leverage when they're a free agent, but you're at the mercy of the club because they own your contract, they own your rights while you're under contract. So you could be traded at any time.
Which is why I think soccer in the UK, or in Europe in general, or around the world, actually anywhere other than really Major League Soccer, but where it's single entity structure, is if you've signed a 3-year deal, you're under no obligation to go anywhere. If a team has sold you or they've agreed a fee, you don't have to go. I think as far as the players' rights go in that sense, it makes for much more security as a player and allows you to kind of pick and choose what would perhaps be best for your family. I always struggled to, and I didn't have to deal with this, of seeing MLS players that have been, traded 3 times within a year and then shipped off, and then their contract, and they're out of contract, and you really don't have any say to that effect. No. And I look back, and I never had a family while I played. My family came right at the end of my career. I wonder if my decisions would have been the same, and I would have been able to take the same type of risks that I did if I hadn't been single and hadn't been able to bet on myself a little bit more and had more at stake, I suppose. Because when I was 20 years old, I signed a 4-year deal with the Dynamo, $34,000 a year. Every year got offered a new deal, but they wanted to add years to my contract. And with that comes restriction. With that comes less ability and leverage to kind of go. My dream was always to go to Europe. And I just gambled on myself in more ways than one. I was a good poker player, so I had a little bit more in the bank to give me a little bit of a pad to not have to make those decisions.
That's amazing.
And played it out, played my deal out to the last year where I was a full international at U.S. national team. I was an MLS All-Star and Best 11 and team MVP. And then I went on a free transfer.
24 years old?
At 24 years old. But if I had to make the decision with a wife and a young daughter and no health care, and man, that would be asking a lot of my family.
Do you think, for sure. Do you think that being free, like having that you were a free transfer, helped you get a home in Europe? Like if you
I had to go on trial at Bolton.
Yeah, oh, you did. So if you had to pay $2 or $3 million, you would have been in a totally different position.
Yeah, and that was a big part of why I was knocking back contracts because I didn't want to have a team make that decision over $3-4 million, $5 million pounds.
You wanted to get a chance.
I wanted to be on it, and even I was shocked still at that point of how have I not gotten a team and I'm going to be a free transfer and I'm in a full international.
Yeah.
But I don't know the level and maybe I had a little dip in form towards the end of that where teams weren't quite sure. Yeah. And you know how they are in England. I think the impression of the American player at that time has shifted now, but. It was. The only time I actually had to deal with that with my family was when I decided to maybe I was going to come back one more time with my knee, and I was just kind of feeling out MLS teams and then the Premier League. So my agent said, "Hey, I've got 5 or 6 teams that are interested in you, but you'd have to come on trial with all of them." And then I had Major League Soccer saying, "Well, this is kind of a ballpark figure." Yeah. For what teams would potentially offer you, but again, you'd even have to go and train with them just to show them that you're fit. And I was thinking, do I want to give it one more shot here and throw, my life on the line to then move to another city in another part of the country, and then that could all just go like that if my knee goes. And I chose life and family and happiness.
Man. And you have a new career, but it's you can think of so many instances during your life where something went a certain way that changed everything forever. And I remember my last year in Dallas. I was in Dallas for 6 years. We went from the worst team in the league to playing the conference finals. We had a great thing going. And that last season I was there, I was a free agent the next summer, and we brought in Antoine Walker and Antoine Jameson, 2 very good players, but basically the same position. And we were trying to make this thing work. And I was always a pass-first guy, very unselfish. So the first 2 or 3 months of that season, I really deferred and tried to fit these pieces together and make it work. And so I didn't score a lot, and the ball was out of my hands more. And then the second half of the season, I think I shot over 50%. And if you'd just taken that chunk, I had a great season. But I think the big picture looked like, you didn't have as good a year, maybe he's slowing down. And so I think Mark Cuban thought, he's
on the decline.
I think I just turned 30. And he's like, he plays so hard, and I've always thrown my body in there and, going to the basket like a madman. And I think he was like, he's going to, at some point here soon, he's going to decline. And so I think that his decision was partly, because of those first 2-3 months of the season, which made my numbers look much less than they actually were the way I performed the last 4 months of the season. So, but like if we didn't make that trade, who knows? You know what I mean? Who knows what happens? Who knows what happens with the team? Who knows what happens with his decision there? Because I'd expected to kind of finish my career as a Maverick. I definitely didn't expect to play 10 more years.
10 more years.
Yeah. So you never know the way things work out and why and what. And obviously going to Phoenix was an amazing opportunity for me to kind of be a part of transforming that team and franchise, and having all the success we had was like, looking back on it, you wouldn't trade it for anything. At the same time, I wanted to stay and play with Dirk and Michael Finley and finish kind of what we started, because we had a great opportunity too to keep going. And Mark was at times ballsy in the market and would try really hard and be aggressive and try to bring guys in like he did with Tyson Chandler and stuff that helped them win a championship. So, it would have been nice to kind of stick that out and see what happened. And having said that, my time in Phoenix was phenomenal. And, if I were lucky enough to go in the Hall of Fame, I'd go in as a son.
As a son, as you should. It also begs the question of when players get called mercenaries. Yeah. Maybe that's more of a term within the soccer culture and of going for the money. And we just saw Alexis Sanchez most recently go for that. But I think in many rights, the players have earned that opportunity, and I know that fans are so tied and loyal, and they can't see past if they're a blue team, it's blue and that's it, and if you join the other team, you're out the door. But you think of this is a business, and you do get one opportunity in life at this. And there is the other side of the player that's getting cut and waived and can't find a team and is moving here. And then you have a player that's at the absolute top of his game that's looking to maximize his career and maximize the value, because it could end tomorrow and you could have an injury, or you could have whatever, which is the beauty of sports, right? But
so I'll give you a couple of examples I think that are difficult for fans to see the other side sometimes. But for example, Mkhitaryan, right? Mm-hmm. He signs at Manchester United, and now they don't want him anymore, and they ship him off. So the only real loyalty in sports is money, right? Because some team could tell you how desperate they are to get you. They love you. They want you. You sign, someone else becomes available, and they trade you. So you've just changed your whole life. You've moved to a city to join a team. You've chosen, this is where I want to be. I can't wait to build a career.
You're a commodity.
And you're gone. What's he been there, 18 months? You know what I mean? I think
maybe less.
Maybe less. And he's gone. And maybe that's not a great example, but I always knew that in sports, if you don't take what your market value is or what you can get, you're taking a big risk. Because if you sign in the NBA with that team, if you take less money to play for that team and then they turn around and trade you in February, it's like, you know what I mean? That's the only loyalty there really is money. So it's unfortunate that that's what it is, but it's a business. The other example I want to give is, and I'm butchering the numbers here, but that's
pretty good timing.
It is. So this is my last word.
Okay, go.
But the other thing is, for example, the Golden State Warriors, I think, were bought a few years ago. Maybe our research assistant, yet to be named, can look this up. But
we'll pop the answer up on the screen right here.
Yeah, they were bought for like $400 or $600 million by the current ownership group, and I don't know how long ago it was. Let's say in the last 5+ years, maybe 6-7 years. So now they're valued at $3 billion. So you tell me, if they've gone from $600 million to $3 billion valuation, how much of that does Steph Curry deserve?
A chunk.
Right?
Right?
And you could say the size of his contract, I think, is probably $250 million or whatever right now, but that doesn't represent the impact he's had on that franchise. No. As big as that is.
So let me flip this to you. If you're Steph Curry and you believe in your value that much, would you be willing to take guaranteed money off the table to vest it in a percentage of what the valuation of the franchise is by X year of your career? So you mean if I sign right here and I say in 6 years right now we get an independent audit to see what the franchise is worth, and maybe when he started $600 million and now it's $3 billion, he gets 20% of that.
I mean, I think some players definitely would if they believe in their game,
if they believe in their brand that much,
and they know how much the global growth of the game is trending upwards, and that the NBA has been a leader in certain areas, social media, technologies. It's a game that doesn't have health risks and like the things you're seeing in other sports, and so it's in a great place. Having said that, I don't really, that's not what I'm asking for. What I'm saying is that you can't complain when a guy like Steph Curry is making 40, LeBron making 30, 40, 50 million a year. He probably is worth more, right? Like the impact he's having on their TV revenue, the TV revenue of the league globally, the brand, the local, revenue that the team accrues, but also is valued at. I mean, so, if someone's participating in that, why does the businessman get it over the athlete, who is also a company and corporation and businessman? So it's a relationship that I think, typically, it finds its market value. It finds its place in the market as far as like the NBA players are getting more and more now because the TV revenue is getting bigger and bigger. So the valuations and I think the valuations are probably propped up a little bit, but I think the valuations are also based on supply and demand, and that there's a lot of wealthy people that right now are like, I'd love to have an NBA team. Right? So if there's only 30, you got one of them, and you got one in a great market, and you got a great team, it's not going to be valued at $1.5 billion when you can, you know what I mean? When you're just when someone wants to knock on our door, they're going to have to knock on for $3.5 billion, right?
Especially if something's not for sale, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I think we're
going to call an extra time on this subject, because I think we have a little bit more, we have a little more meat on this one.
Sure.
And this is why actually as a player, I never like, was I jealous when I knew guys made more money than me, or based on what I'd done? There's part of me for that, but I wasn't mad at the player for making that money or for getting that contract, because ultimately someone decided that they were worth that amount, and it's not coming out of my pocket. It's not me that's paying, someone double my wages or whatever it might be. And I think that goes to the LeBron or the Steph or the. There's a number that somebody crunched behind the scenes that said, based in the landscape of the business and how much money and TV revenue and everything that is continuing to grow, to justify, to be able to pay those guys that money. And it might look astronomical when you consider the masses and the perception of that, right? But go to Jeff Bezos, who's one of the greatest CEOs in the history of the world, and what he's come up with Amazon. I mean, that guy makes billions, right? And he earns billions for his company as well, but he is the top 1%. LeBron James, Steph Curry, they're the top 1% of what they do. Sure. And I know everything is relatively scale-wise, but I mean, those guys absolutely should be earning those types of numbers.
And Steph's making it back now, but his 2 MVP seasons, I think he was making like a pretty mediocre. I think he was making like $12 million a year, right? Whereas other guys that are not even all-stars are getting $20 million. So you never know, like, when your time, like, for example, I think that if you look at my career, my production, I never was paid what my market value could have been, but I feel so lucky. I feel so blessed. I had my best parts of my career in my 30s, which is always going to bring your market down, because they never know when you're going to come to the end. You never, like, I thought it was a totally waste of time and a poor exercise to worry about what other people were making. Worry about yourself, work hard, be grateful, be thankful, and work and enjoy it as much as you can. Be a great teammate. That's more than any paycheck, is having the reward of loving what you do and enjoying your craft and your pursuit of winning as many games as possible. That was the joy in it all. And so I never really got caught up in that. And
I think what I've also, to fast that forward, is being conscious of not being that player that, because soccer is currently in the United States is in a different ballpark than it was 10 years ago and 10 years prior, and it's exponentially growing. But still, guys are making, compared to the NBA, and what's the minimum in NBA? 400, 500, something like that?
And then if you're like a 10-year vet, your minimum's like over 2 million or 3 million or
something. So minimum in Major League Soccer right now is 65,000. When I started, it was 11,000. And we still used to get those guys, though, that would come in, the guys that were the first pioneers in Major League Soccer in 1996, and we're like, oh, you guys are getting paid ridiculous amounts, you're flying in this, you're staying in nice hotels, you're playing in these beautiful stadiums. And so naturally, I know in 10 years from now, these guys are going to be making millions of dollars. And I don't want to be that guy that was saying, oh, imagine that if that was me. Well, it wasn't. I had a fantastic career. I loved every minute. I made some shit money in MLS. But, it was a product of the time, the circumstance where I was in my career, everything that went into that.
MLS was a huge stepping stone for you. So while you didn't get remunerated the way maybe your world market value was, but it led you to, having to
greener pastures.
To having the best moments of your career were born off your success in the MLS and going and playing the Premier League and playing the World Cup and all that stuff. So it is, it's one of those things, be grateful and enjoy it.
All right. Well, we got one more question here. I know that one ran on a little bit. I actually like this one. Not that I actually like it, because I like the other ones too.
Liar.
I know. So JMario09 from Twitter asked, at Steven Stew, how do you raise your kids in sports without being too overbearing? He has a 19-month-old. I did competitive swimming for 10 years, but soccer is my true love. And his parents pushed him to swimming, something he always regrets.
First of all, 19 months, I'd get him on some plyos quickly. Fast
box jumps,
fast twitch early. No, I think parents need to be as supportive as possible, and at the same time create parameters of what's acceptable for behavior. So, like, we're going to be on time. You commit for the season. You're going to be a good teammate. You're going to behave yourself at practices and games. You know what I mean? You're going to be humble. Like, set all behavior parameters and be tough with those. And then as far as like their standard of play, I mean, just expect for them, I expect you to be a good teammate and compete and work hard while you're there. And if you don't like it, you don't have to play again. But I'm not a big believer in pushing, Because the kids that have to get pushed too hard, there's only gonna be resentment built. You know, it's the ones that, you know, you can challenge kids. Challenge them all you want, but when you start to push, I think there's a difference, and I think that's where resentment builds up, and that kid's probably not gonna get there anyways.
So do you think some of that is inherent? As far as, let me just make an example here. You have a parent that really wants their kid to be good at sports, which is many of them, but you see Johnny's friend, and Johnny's friend is wanting to do private trainings and extra trainings, and you can see how he's getting better than your child, but your child perhaps isn't as into it as Johnny is.
Look, you have to, I think, have an understanding that it's about your kid, not you. So if your kid doesn't want to do extra and just enjoys playing at the level they're playing at, support and accept that. It's what gets you in trouble is when you want it for your kid more than they do, and that's where the resentment and the issues come up. Let your kid decide how bad they want it. You know, if there's times to give them a nudge or challenge them, that's fine, but be very clear on what your wishes are and why you wish that on them, and then try to wipe it off, you know, the table and let the kid decide what it is they want. I think that's what I see in a lot of parents, is you can see they're getting their emotional want for the child mixed up with what the child wants, and I think that's unfortunately where we get in trouble.
Yeah, I'll throw it back to an example with my own dad and with my brother, actually. So my brother was 2.5 years younger than me. I played soccer especially when I played multiple sports, but then I got to a point where I was pretty much only soccer with maybe a bit of basketball on the side. My brother, when he was 14 years old, came to my dad, and he had done basketball in the spring and then football, which I never played, American football, and then he had soccer, and he came to my dad, and this is my brother, who was one of the best players in the state, very good soccer player, was playing club, was playing high school, or maybe it was middle school at the time, and he said to my dad, I want to quit soccer. And it was a shock to everybody.
Why?
I think he wasn't enjoying it. He wasn't having fun. I don't know if the pressure was maybe more from that, or maybe a lot of his friends in school were doing another sport too, and he just came to my dad and said he wanted to quit. And I was interested in what my dad did. My dad said, fine, no problem, you can quit. Even though my dad really wanted him to play soccer and wanted him to keep playing soccer, and I think he tried initially to convince him not to. And then he let my brother quit soccer for a couple months, and then my brother picked back up soccer the next season and went on to be a professional.
Yeah.
But I think he needed that time out.
Yeah, my situation was similar to that.
Just fine.
Yeah, I knew that. Heard that joke before. My situation was similar. You know, I was played soccer, played hockey, baseball. You know, soccer was a big sport for me growing up. And then when I got to 12, Michael Jordan came on the scene. All my friends at a new school played basketball, and I told my dad I want to play basketball. And I think you could tell.
Think that hurt him because your dad was a professional soccer player?
I mean, deep down it hurt, you know. But he never was like tried to convince me otherwise. He was just like, fine, that's what you want to do. You know, I think he was like,
and every night he's
like, I think he was like,
I love Martin. I love Martin.
Yeah. I think he was like, he thought I had a chance, so it kind of hurt him a little bit, but he never was like, you know, bad decision or anything. He's like, kid's got to do what he wants to do. And so, you know, similar situation. I think it's really important for parents to make sure it's about the kid. What does the kid want, not what do you want?
And I also plan to give Kennedy everything she could possibly need to love soccer.
Create an environment. But
if she doesn't love the game, I'm not going to be pushing it down her throat. I can guarantee you that. Even though, as much as I joke about it all the time, and I say that to Karen, she's like, "You're going to do it." And I said, "No. What do you mean? Kick it, please, kick it, kick the ball. I want you to play pro soccer. I want you to play soccer, but." You know, ultimately, I want her to enjoy the game because I enjoy it. It was a big part of my past.
And you have something in common.
And we have something in common that we can bond over. But whatever she's into, I'm going to be into, no matter what.
Mateo...
Other than boys.
Yeah.
None of that.
Mateo's 7, and he still doesn't really like sports. Like, he'll mess around. He plays basketball, he plays soccer, but he's kind of he likes going to the games because he's with other kids. Yeah. But he doesn't ever want to shoot hoops or kick a ball around, like literally ever. Like I ask him almost every day, and I never say, come on, like let's do it. And I think just the fact that I ask him, he knows, and so that's part of the reason why he doesn't want to do it, right? He feels that I want him to. Now I never push, I never say, oh come on, You know, I say, okay. I just let it go, but I offer. And so I'm trying to create an environment because we'd have something in common. He's not taking it, and maybe he'll grow into it, but maybe he won't, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm doing exactly what you're planning on doing. I'm losing. I'm creating an environment. I'm creating an environment. But do
you ever have a situation though where you say that and you go downstairs and you're playing with the ball against the wall or whatever, where he comes down and he's like just wants to get involved or not?
No. Like he might come to the basement, but when he goes, like we have a little basement sports room, and when he comes down there, he like wants to set up obstacle courses and do random shit. Whereas I'm like, let's play soccer, let's play basketball, let's play volleyball, like let's play catch. He's like, no, he tells me, okay, you put all the balls over there and try to kick them at me as hard as you can.
I was going to say, that was the one time I saw him get into it.
I'll try to dodge them. Like, that's all he wants to do.
We're throwing the ball at him and he's dodging.
Me to blast balls at him and him try to avoid him. I'm like...
But maybe he's into dodgeball.
Yeah, I'm like, geez.
Start there.
Exactly. Get him in the international dodgeball
Sometimes
scene.
I think you are in our pickup games. Can't find you, hiding.
Yeah. What do we got? You want to take one more, or we...
I think we should do a... as part of this pod for our teasers, we should do a 2-touch challenge or something in the basement.
Let's do it. We can do that. We can have a shooting contest. Basketball.
Basketball? Where, right here?
We can go, I mean, another day.
Oh, another day. You're scared already.
Yeah, well, we can...
You should have to shoot left-handed, to be honest.
I can do that.
All right. Should we wrap it up?
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
It's nice because this is our first non-live edition, technically, so we can just end whenever we want, and we don't really have to say goodbye to you. But if you listened through this whole thing, thank you. You deserve a medal. And we will be back next week, so fire in your questions if you have more that you want us to follow up with, and we will read them off. It'll foster a discussion. We're going to try and keep it at 10 minutes. Steve talked for about 20 minutes on each one. He talks a lot more than me. I'm the really quiet one. Anything else?
Liar. No, that's it. Thanks for checking us out, and please comment and let us know what you think and what do you want to hear and what we can do to make this experience a little more enjoyable for everybody.
By the way, do you ever wear hats?
Sometimes.
I've never seen you wear a hat.
It's not a good look for me, but...
Go on, put one on. Why do you have to put it off to the side? Let's see how you look. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you look like an absolute...
These are my wife's hats. Hola. Tenacity. My guy Josh.
Wait, have you ever seen me put an oversized hat on? I honestly look 5 years old.
Hey, good, buddy. Shout out to Tenacity.
Good look.